The aquamorph, Homo aquaticus, inhabited the oceans of the Earth in the 22nd century. These beings were created with the purpose of helping in the construction of underwater deuterium mills for fuel used for the interstellar colonization project due to the collapse of the human civilization. These are characterized by their modified paddle-shaped legs, which allow to swim, in addition to the change of the form of the head, which adjusts to be hydrodynamically efficient when swimming. The face is quite narrow, but broad at the sides, possessing only a couple of holes, rather centered eyes, large nostrils and a wide mouth. Due to the genetic modifications on facial tissue and head shape, this is incapable of making facial gestures. Aquamorphs are able to breathe under the water by the use of gills that are located in the chest. They possess a high intelligence, being similar to the one of their relative humans, able to use tools which carry in a special belt. Although their inability to reproduce would lead them to their extinction after having completed the interstellar project, the experimentation of a lineage adapted to aquatic life able to survive and reproduce would continue by the same engineers who created them just before the project end, establishing the foundations for the aquatics to be created. The vacuumorph, Homo caelestis, is an odd, genetically engineered infertile three-lunged, crustacean-like human, descended from the modern human, that can survive the wild winds of space in 200 years. In a future shaped by genetic engineering, the vacuumorph is the pinnacle of human adaptation for space, crafted through grafting and cell manipulation. Kralum, a product of genetic engineering, is designed to thrive in orbit, featuring altered limbs and extra organs. The narrative reflects on the historical practice of breeding animals for specific purposes and the ethical complexities of applying similar principles to humans. Despite the ethical concerns surrounding genetic manipulation, a compromise becomes essential for humanity's survival. Genetic engineering offers precise control over human genes, enabling the creation of beings with specific attributes. The starship's unique design, powered by compressed helium-3 and deuterium, hints at humanity's expansion into the cosmos. Kralum, content in her space-adapted form, represents the sacrifices made for interstellar exploration. The starship's crew includes a non-engineered humans, with genetic engineers among the passengers, raising questions about the challenges they may encounter in distant star systems. As Kralum observes a ferry approaching the starship, the narrative leaves room for contemplation about humanity's future, venturing beyond Earth, facing the unknown, and adapting to unforeseen conditions in distant galaxies. The vacuumorphs die out. They were never perfect, they were not so much bred as built up from pieces grown synthetically, and there was never a possibility that they would reproduce. This human subspecies diverged from Homo sapiens around 300 years hence for its almost total dependence on technological means to provide vital support to its fragile and atrophied bodies that vary in the degree of degradation depending on the individual, this by means of mechanical cradles, structures such as a box with a window where the head protrudes from the inside, while the body is kept suspended inside by means of harnesses and hydraulic arms. The cradle is connected to a huge crane with the central life support machine in the back, which moves by means of levitation thanks to magnetism. Socially even presenting several human characteristics and emotions, although these are able to regulate them artificially by means of different compounds, however several of them show dislike towards original humans considering them as unsophisticated or primitive, only being tolerated for their versatility and ability to maintain the machinery. They live inside huge facilities, some of which are dedicated to the cultivation of synthetic foods, being driven by solar energy or the ocean thanks to huge underwater turbines and mobilized using large flying vehicles. a future world, plains dwellers, genetically engineered from an loss, adapt to open grasslands, resembling dark-colored, troll-like beings with long legs for swiftness. Their feet, developed from velt-running animals, aid in navigating tall grass, and massive teeth facilitate chewing tough silica-rich grasses. A specialized stomach, housing engineered bacteria, breaks down cellulose, an uncommon feat for humans. Hands equipped with cutting edges help scythe through thick grass, while dark skin and a mane protect from sunlight. Graham, a young plains dweller, raised in a habitat module, undergoes a transformative journey to live independently on the grassy plains. Stepping onto the unfamiliar soil, Graham feels the scrutiny of family, the creatures who raised him. Equipped with instruments measuring his performance, Graham demonstrates his ability to harvest and consume grass. Despite conforming to his training, he breaks free from family's expectations and embraces the vast, open landscape as his own. Consuming grass with wear-resistant teeth and a unique digestion process sets him apart from his creators. With newfound joy, Graham claims the grassy plains as his true home, rejecting the instruments and defying family's influence in a final act of liberation. In the 25th century, tropical forest dwellers are genetically engineered from an-loss to thrive in scrubby tropical forests adapted for arboreal life. These orangutan-like humans are designed to climb and live in rainforests abundant with resources. Intelligence is intentionally limited, as survival instincts suffice for their current environment, but future evolution may enhance their intelligence gradually. Dougal Dixon, a high-tech, observes the descent of a flyer onto the rainforest, now regenerated after past destruction caused by human expansion. The forest has changed with scrubby, hardy trees replacing the magnificent ones of old. The absence of larger non-human animals necessitates the introduction of genetically engineered forest creatures to restore balance. The an-loss, once despised for their simplicity, become crucial for humanity's future gene pool. Having fallen from technological complexity, they experience natural selection, evolving into a healthier population. This realization prompts a shift in human perspective. Rather than altering the environment with technology, humans should adapt themselves to suit their surroundings. Dougal Dixon contemplates the engineered beings designed for various habitats, including the tropical forest version. Pan, a representative, embarks on his adventure into the rainforest to test his adaptation. The success of these creations hinges on their ability to breed true, marking a new approach to human survival that respects the natural processes of evolution and ecology. The temperate woodland dweller is a quadrupedal, Australopithecus-like human engineered from an-loss to inhabit temperate environments. Adapted for tree climbing, its limbs are nimble, with arms and legs of similar length. The fine hair covering the body provides warmth in temperate conditions. Karahudru the high-tech recognizes the challenges posed by this species, noting its adaptations, including a furry pelt eliminating the need for clothing, longer arms, delicate fingers, stronger teeth, and prehensile feet with the big toe developed into a thumb for climbing trees. It moves in a four-footed crouch, resembling non-human animals. The creature's brain, however, holds a fundamental difference. Karahudru contemplates what defines a human being, questioning whether technological use or resemblance to ancestors determines humanity. The temperate woodland dweller challenges traditional views of beauty and elegance, returning to a more primitive, beast-like form suited for life without civilization. The brain's low intelligence reflects a deliberate choice, as surrounded by abundant food, the creature only needs enough intelligence to find it. The engineers balance adaptability and specialization, creating a generalized hunter-gatherer browser insectivorous scavenger for the deciduous forest. Karahudru acknowledges a lurking misgiving about the potential consequences of unspecialized creatures evolving and encroaching on each other's environments. As the creature steps into the deciduous woodland, it immediately feels at home, disappearing into the greenery. The long-term impact of these engineered beings on the future remains uncertain. Subspecies descendant of the high-tech that appeared between 500 to 1000 years hence, these voluminous and amorphous beings are the final result of the attempt to maintain artificially atrophied living bodies without the need of machinery. For this they created the cultural cradle, a completely organic system, which externally has a grotesque aspect, being enormous bags of flesh and fat that lodge in their interior several organs and a withered human body of which only it conserves intact its face and functional sensory organs, excelling of this a number of legs and arms that vary in amount depending on the individual aesthetic selection. They are able to control machinery by telepathic control, just by touching the device and with their mind giving the order. Not much is known about their cultural form, and it can only be inferred that they were the same as their high-tech predecessors. When its civilization began to collapse, they presented violent behaviors between one and another, even killing their peers in violent fights due to the desperation to survive, assaulting facilities and succumbing to panic. The tundra dweller is a large, yeti-like human engineered from loss, adapted to survive in the tundra and conifer forests. Despite the meager diet of mosses, lichens, heathers, and coarse grasses, Canute, a tundra dweller, has been raised in a living module with artificially maintained cold weather conditions. Now, in the tundra wilderness, he stands amidst crisply frosted grass, taking his place in nature. Centuries ago, herds of big animals roamed the tundra, wintering in coniferous forests to the south and summering on the plains. The absence of fierce hunting animals makes the entire landscape Canute's domain. With his ice hook developed from the nail on his big toe, he scrapes up moss, confirming the familiarity of the taste he has known all his life. As snow begins to swirl, Canute rolls up the ruff of fat around his neck for warmth. The great flying ship behind him departs, carrying family members back to the warm cities, leaving Canute alone in his natural habitat. Aware that excessive harsh weather could be lethal, Canute turns southward towards the huge coniferous forests for winter shelter. Alone but undeterred, Canute embarks on a journey to survive the northern winter, intending to make the experiment a success. If he thrives, more tundra dwellers will be produced, contributing to the repopulation of the chill northern wastes of the planet. The aquatic is a genetically modified post-human species designed for aquatic life, showcasing significant adaptations compared to its aquamorph ancestor. This species possesses a robust and wide body, a flat-faced oval head with large fish-like eyes incapable of perceiving color, a reduced nose, and a wide mouth with pectoral gills to facilitate underwater respiration. The hind limbs have evolved into a long tail ending in a flat delta-shaped fluke, while the arms retain the original structure but feature paddle-like extensions forming fins for swimming. Emerging before other human species, the aquatics originated in the final days of the genetic engineering project, succeeding the aquamorph with improved aquatic adaptation and the ability to reproduce. Over the next million years, they became the predominant ocean organisms due to a mass extinction event, exploiting the seabed for resources and experiencing exponential population growth. Facing resource scarcity, aquatics attempted a return to land around 50,000 years in the future. They developed a mucus-covered bubble as a type of suit to harvest coastal resources, leading to conflicts with other human species. However, with global climate change and rising sea levels disrupting oceanic resources, aquatics returned to a sustainable oceanic lifestyle after 5 million years, becoming the dominant megafauna without divergent species. Their reign ended with the arrival of starfaring travelers and subsequent planet terraforming, causing the extinction of the aquatics. Yet, unlike other terrestrial post-humans, they left behind offspring, the P. profundus, deep-sea dwellers surviving in abyssal parts of the planet with the potential to recolonize in the distant future after the extinction event. The memory people, descendants of temperate woodland dwellers, possess advanced memory capabilities allowing them to recall the ways of their ancestors. Facing starvation by the seashore due to scarce resources, Russia and her mate Vas venture inland during a blizzard. In the midst of the snowstorm, Russia inexplicably remembers a sheltered ice-free valley with a lake full of fish, providing a potential solution for their colony's plight. Her journey through the blizzard leads her to the frozen valley, where she recognizes the features described in her memory. Wondering how she recalls a landscape seemingly frozen in time since her great-great-grandfather's era, she contemplates the possibility of ancestral memories being passed down. Thirsty, she finds a frozen stream, breaks the ice, and drinks from the cold water, contemplating the potential usefulness of her newfound ability. She remembers that food lies where the stream meets a lake that never freezes, providing hope for the colony. As Russia begins her journey back to share this vital information, she encounters a figure in the distance, recognizing it as Croft, her first cousin once removed. Realizing that Croft may possess similar ancestral memories, she contemplates the suitability of Croft as a mate, given their shared knowledge that could benefit the colony. This revelation prompts Russia to reconsider her relationship with Vas in the face of the newfound ability to access ancestral memories. The hunter symbiont is a descendant of temperate woodland dwellers, forming a symbiotic relationship with certain tundra dwellers, serving as carriers. Symbiosis grants mutual benefits, with the swift hunter symbiont providing hunting skills, ensuring enough food for both itself and its slow-moving carrier. The tundra, newly exposed due to a retreat in the northern ice cap, becomes the domain of the symbionts, a landscape of frozen soil with sparse vegetation. A herd of symbionts, resembling tundra dwellers but with distinctive features, follows a leader equipped with two heads, one with large eyes and nostrils, and another with big ears and active eyes. Discovering a lemming migration, the symbionts witness a remarkable event where half of them split into separate entities, revealing spindly figures, the hunter symbionts. These agile beings swiftly join the lemming migration, hunting and killing as the remaining symbionts watch and encourage. This symbiotic relationship originated thousands of years ago when temperate woodland dwellers sought warmth and survival on the tundra. The tundra dwellers welcomed them, and over time, a symbiotic bond evolved, ensuring survival for both groups. The smaller hunter symbionts communicate with each other using a simple language, while interactions with carriers involve nudges and gestures. As they follow the lemming migration for food, the symbiotic group continues their journey across the tundra. The climate shift, with increased and prolonged rainfall, is altering the grasslands that were once the exclusive domain of the plains dwellers. The grasses, adapted to survive in the old seasonal conditions, are giving way to thorn forests and encroaching trees due to the more frequent rains. This transformation attracts meat-hunting creatures from the tropical forests, posing a threat to the plains dwellers' traditional way of life. The plains dwellers, with their uniquely long legs, can outpace their enemies, but the increasing frequency of threats is draining their energy and disrupting their feeding patterns. Throughout history, the plains dwellers faced challenges as the grasslands seemed on the verge of disappearing. In the past, they ventured into thorn thickets and rainforests in search of new pastures, but none ever returned. Some explored harsh, rocky areas where grass became scarcer, and small creatures became rarer. However, in previous crises, the grasslands eventually recovered. Now, with the persistent increase in rainfall, the grasses familiar to the plains dwellers are vanishing, and even the once desert areas are transforming due to enhanced moisture. The once desert areas, now the only reliable expanses of grass, are also changing. Grasses are taking root in rocky soil that was previously inhospitable. The plains dwellers may find their future home in these areas. After 40,000 years of relatively stable climate, the food chain is becoming unstable once more, prompting changes in the plains dwellers' behavior and lifestyle. By the 520th century, they have evolved into communal plains dwellers, adapting to the evolving landscape and challenges brought about by climatic shifts. The bulbous and blubbery descendants of tundra dwellers, known as Panarius pinguis or hosts, have developed parasitic feeding habits due to the changing ecological landscape. In the absence of the tundra plains, the obese hosts have found a niche to coexist by producing surplus fat, sustaining tiny spider-like parasites embedded in their deep fat. The parasites continuously feed on the host's surplus, forming a symbiotic relationship. As a hive of islanders roams the undulating foothills, they encounter these host-parasite pairs, but the parasites pose no threat and are increasingly seen wandering the domain. The parasites and their hosts, the only surviving communal humanoid creatures since the days of the engineers, have adapted to changing conditions. Unlike extinct symbionts that teamed up with tundra dwellers, the hosts have evolved from tundra dwellers, shedding woolly coats and cold resistance but retaining thick fat deposits. The host's metabolism generates surplus fat from constant plant consumption, including algal cultures developed by aquatics. These cultures have transformed lowland areas into foul slimelands, providing abundant food for both aquatics and land-living creatures. While the hivers and aquatics ignore the parasites and hosts, the aquatics graze on the algal culture below the slime crust, ensuring a self-sustaining food source. Despite occasional losses to land creatures stealing from the edges, the aquatics face minimal concerns, primarily related to potential breaches in the algal covering leading to dehydration. The world's lowlands covered in this self-sustaining food generator alleviate worries about food scarcity, emphasizing the interconnectedness of diverse species in the evolving ecosystem. The small and parasitic descendants of islanders, known as Nananthropus parasitus, have evolved to exploit the metabolic need of tundra dwellers to produce surplus fat. These parasites form a symbiotic relationship with the obese hosts, embedding themselves in the deep fat, feeding continuously from the surplus fat of the host. A hiver party, navigating undulating foothills, encounters these parasitic creatures during their routine path. The parasites are observed embedded in the fat of shambling creatures, displaying spider-like features, and these parasitic hosts are seen spreading from forest areas into the domain of the hivers. The leader of the hiver party is momentarily curious about the habits and survival mechanisms of the parasitic creatures but quickly dismisses the thought, signaling the party to move onwards. The parasite's only apparent function is the use of long fingers and toes to grip folds of fat in their hosts. These creatures are not the first communal humanoid beings since the engineers, with other types like the extinct hunter symbionts and symbiont carriers having emerged and disappeared over time. Unlike their extinct counterparts, the parasites and their hosts adapt to changing conditions. Descended from tundra dwellers, the hosts shed woolly coats and cold resistance but retain thick fat deposits, sustaining the parasites. The host's metabolism generates surplus fat from constant consumption of various plants, including the blue-green algal culture spread by aquatics. Despite their presence in the slimelands, both hivers and aquatics largely ignore the parasitic hosts, focusing on their own sustenance from the abundant food sources in the evolving ecosystem. Million years into the future, the fish eater is a semi-aquatic descendant of the temperate woodland dweller, having evolved for a specialized lifestyle. Living by upland lakes and rivers, this patient hunter is equally adept on land and in water, with a streamlined shape, glossy pelt, small ears, short neck, and broad feet. In an environment shaped by the gradual movements of continents and changes in atmospheric conditions, the fish eater thrives by patiently waiting for freshwater bony fish. The temperate woodland dwellers have undergone significant diversification and adaptation, resulting in specialized body forms fitting various environments. In the temperate regions where forests still exist on upland slopes, the hunting people maintain their age-old lifestyle, with some specializing in fish-eating habits. The fish eaters have evolved streamlined shapes and aquatic features, with eyes that can focus above and below the water surface. These individuals, such as the one observed beneath an overhang, exhibit a distinct morphology: shorter necks, smaller ears, longer fingers, and broader feet. Amidst the backdrop of upland lakes, rivers, and forests, the fish eater displays exceptional hunting skills. The watcher, part of the hunting people, patiently observes and expertly catches a fish using pointed claws on long fingers. Despite not being fully adapted to the water, the fish eater's successful hunting allows for survival and the continuation of its lineage in a world shaped by constant natural selection and evolution. Three million years into the future, the tree dweller is a descendant of the tropical tree dweller, adopting an arboreal, tree sloth gibbon-like form. With long hooked fingers evolved for clinging to the jungle canopy, the tree dweller moves slowly and deliberately through the humid rainforest, where fruit and insects abound. In a state of stasis, unchallenged by enemies and surrounded by abundant food, the tree dweller lacks the need for speed, aggression, or adaptation. Its long fingers are adept at breaking open insect nests under bark, showcasing the creature's specialized evolution. Observing a female tree dweller navigating the tree branches, her permanently curved fingers and toes enable her to hang upside down and move with precision. In a competitive encounter with a male over a fruit-bearing tree, aggression ensues as both creatures vie for the prize. The female remains immune to insect attacks, having developed resistance over generations. Eventually, after feeding on honey and grubs, the female encounters the male who seeks to mate. With the basics of food and mating as their primary concerns, these tree dwellers exhibit a weak intellect that serves their fundamental drive for existence. In the rainforests that still cover windward mountains and equatorial river basins, the tree dwellers maintain the lineage of the original tropical forest dwellers. With their long arms, long-fingered hands, and prehensile toes, they skillfully navigate the forest canopy. Over millennia, the tree dwellers have undergone little change, remaining slow and ponderous in the absence of enemies or environmental challenges. The prospect of change hinges on unforeseen events or alterations to their habitat. However, with no immediate threats, the tree dwellers continue their existence in a state of stasis. Fast-forwarding to 5 million years into the future, the tree dwellers still inhabit the forests, seemingly unaffected by celestial events or external factors. Their lives unfold at a sluggish pace, insulated from the broader cosmos, as they remain focused on the abundant resources within their familiar environment. The Ant-Man, Formifossor angustus, is a specialized, ant-eating descendant of the temperate woodland dweller from 3 million years into the future. Its body has evolved extreme adaptations for its unique diet, featuring claws for tearing open anthills, a long middle finger for reaching into tunnels, and a striking coloration to deter predators. Unlike its woodland-dwelling ancestors, the Ant-Man lacks sharp teeth and nails but relies on vivid coloration as a defense mechanism against flesh-eating carnivores. The Ant-Man's long finger skillfully probes anthills, triggering a swarm of defending ants. Unfazed by stings and bites due to its immunity to formic acid, the Ant-Man withdraws the finger covered in ants and consumes them, utilizing its tiny teeth to scrape them off. A solitary creature, the Ant-Man is patient and deliberate in its movements. Its immunity to ant venom allows it to redeposit formic acid into its tissues, rendering its flesh unpalatable to potential predators. Sporting a unique coloration with a white stripe across its back and legs, the Ant-Man communicates to potential attackers that it is not suitable for consumption. As the last of the anteaters, aardvarks, and numbats became extinct 3 million years ago, the Ant-Man represents a convergent evolution of the ant-eating lifestyle. Nature's propensity for exploiting available food supplies led to the emergence of specialized feeders, with the Ant-Man evolving from genetically engineered humans designed for the temperate woodlands. The desert runner, a gremlin-like descendant of the temperate woodland dweller from 3 million years into the future, has evolved into a swift and carnivorous hunter adapted to the harsh conditions of the desert. Resembling a hiver in appearance, the desert runner's ancestors originated in the temperate woodland but have undergone convergent evolution, adopting a shape reminiscent of the plains dwellers. Navigating the scorching desert, the desert runner's adaptations include a fatty deposit across its shoulders for energy storage, bat-like ears radiating waste heat, and black and white vision for enhanced distant and night vision. The fatty hump, serving as an adaptation to the dry desert heat, is nearly depleted, and the desert runner must find a fertile spot to replenish its stores. Adaptations such as enhanced kidneys, heat-exchanging ears, and skin folds to protect eyes, ears, and nostrils are essential for survival in the water-scarce environment. As the desert runner travels, its journey takes it over sand and naked rock, utilizing different adaptations for each terrain. The goal of its journey is a hive, a desert city of the hivers, where the desert runner will coexist with the plant-eating hivers due to their differing nutritional requirements. This harmonious coexistence allows the desert runner to hunt smaller animals attracted to the hive's moisture and stored food. In a distant future, by the 50020 century, swift hunters specialized in catching birds, smaller mammals, and fish may observe celestial events in the night sky, yet lack the wit to connect these events to their lives. The narrative concludes with a celestial vessel descending, causing destruction with searing blasts of hot air and fire, signaling a significant and unexpected event in the hunter's world. The spiked tooth is a predatory descendant of the temperate woodland dweller, resembling a smilodon, and typically hunting in mated pairs. Unlike other human hunters, the spiked tooth is larger and heavier, adapted to prey on the slow-moving leaf and twig-eating slothmen. Its slashing front teeth have evolved from the incisors of its ancestor, serving as specialized killing weapons for penetrating the thick fur and tough skin of its prey. While traditional carnivorous mammals featured pointed canines as killing teeth, the spiketooth as weapons developed in the incisors at the front, similar to the teeth of parasites that feed on the descendants of tundra dwellers. The spiketooth's large mouth allows efficient wielding of its teeth, and its powerful hands, equipped with strong fingernails, aid in gripping the slothman's fur or the fatty rolls of parasite hosts during attacks. The interaction between spiketooths and slothmen may appear like cannibalism due to their common human ancestry, but the vast time gap between their common ancestor and the present renders them entirely different species. The approaching danger is illustrated as a mated pair of spike-tooths targets a male sloth man, who, initially unaware, eventually recognizes the threat. As the less experienced spike-tooth attacks, the sloth man employs his only weapon, his weight, to crush the attacker beneath him. However, this leaves him vulnerable to the dead spike-tooth's mate, who seizes the opportunity to deliver a fatal strike to the slothman's neck. The emotionless success of the kill demonstrates how far the spike-tooth has evolved from its original human state. Temperate climates foster the evolution of large creatures, where bulk aids in retaining body heat, and large leaf eaters can find ample nourishment to support their massive size. In a process of convergent evolution, the sloth man resembles the large ground sloths of South and North America. For tundra dwellers to evolve into sloth men, two essential factors were required: abundant food and the absence of enemies. While sustenance remains, a newly evolving predator, the spike-tooth, poses a threat. The sloth man, resembling a massive mound of fur-covered flesh, moves contentedly through the undergrowth, causing minor destruction due to its immense weight. Despite being harmless, its size elicits burbling noises as insects and smaller animals scatter from its path. Pulling itself upright against a tree, the sloth man bears a resemblance to its distant ancestor, the tundra-dwelling human. Descendants of tundra dwellers, also large but less so, move out of the way as the colossal creature feeds. Adapted to woodland life, these creatures maintain the production of excess fat and contend with parasites. They exhibit a parallel convergence with ancient ground sloths due to their large size, ability to move on all fours or stand on hind legs to feed, and an increase in height and weight compared to their ancestors. Despite their resemblance to giant ground-dwelling sloths, sloth men are facing a newly evolving predator, the spike-tooth. These hunters have specialized in hunting descendants of the big tundra dwellers, possessing larger size and weight, with specialized front teeth for killing. While traditional carnivorous mammals had pointed canines for killing teeth, the spike-tooths evolved in the incisor teeth at the front. The narrative introduces a male sloth man peacefully munching on leaves, unaware of the approaching danger. The spike-tooths, descendants of ancient human beings, prepare to attack. The less experienced spike-tooth makes a fatal mistake by leaping onto the slothman's back, enabling the slothman to use its weight as a weapon, crushing the attacker beneath. However, this leaves the slothman vulnerable to the spike-tooth's mate, who delivers a fatal strike to the slothman's neck. The spike-tooth feels no emotion, highlighting its evolution far from the original human state. Unknown interstellar human descendant, one of the many descendants of the humans that left Earth during the 23rd century, are never seen outside without protective suits, mounted on antelope-like engineered humans. Therefore, it is unknown what they look like inside. They are, however, quite small by comparison to their cousins and presumably their ancestors, too. Engineered pack animal, beings of gigantic and voluminous aspect characterized by their long arms and short legs, with enormous mechanical parts in the upper body which fulfill the function of breathing, having their head projecting from their back. These are used as creatures of work. Food creature, engineered by the star travelers, engineered the host into mounds of fat and flesh, fed by chemical nutrients. Small machines remove chunks of meat, tissue, and body fat while the food creature is still alive.